What's going on, guys, and welcome to my Friday Night SmackDown audio review for Friday, May 28th, 2021. I am Graham Giason Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great Memorial Day weekend. If you don't live in the States, I hope you're just having a great weekend in general. Today we're talking the May 28th, 2021 edition of SmackDown, and I thought overall it was another solid show that really peaked with the opening match, to be honest with you, between the Usos and the Street Profits, which I think dominated the first quarter of the show. I did watch on delay, but from what it looked like with the timestamps and whatever, it looked like between the entrances, the promos, and the match itself, this exceeded like the 30-minute mark on SmackDown, which was great to see. Everything else in the show I thought was good. Nothing overly great, really. Some segments were rushed. No follow-up at all with the Aleister Black stuff, which was the talk of the town coming into last week's SmackDown, the best thing on the entire show, in addition to the very good Fatal 4-Way for the Intercontinental Championship, don't get me wrong. But how the fuck do you not have Aleister Black on the show or even reference it? Unless he or Big E got sick or I don't know what the hell happened. I mean, how do you not even show a video package? Again, unless I missed something and they did and I just wasn't looking or I skipped over it or I went to the bathroom or whatever, I don't recall a single mention of Aleister Black's return, which wasn't just a segment on the show last week. It literally ended the fucking episode. How do you not even acknowledge that here on the show? And listen, I'm an advocate for people not being on every single week. I think that's totally fine. But you don't do a big angle like that and then not only not have them on the show, but not even reference it, pretending like it never even happened. With Aleister Black, the booking of Black has been so bizarre over the last 2 years that I can't say I'm overly surprised. But with Big E, though, he's been a pretty prominent babyface on SmackDown since breaking off on his own last year. To not even reference him or show him or hear a promo or, again, let alone a video package recapping what happened. And you know this company loves their video packages. That, to me, was really weird. But again, overall, though, I thought it was a fine show. So let's start with the great here, and that what kicked off the show, between the Usos and the Street Profits. So thankfully, this was advertised the week out. I still would not have given this away as the Usos' first match back. I probably would have just had to have it be against like Chad Gable or Otis or Chad Gable and Otis or whatever. But SmackDown, in case you haven't been paying attention, doesn't have a lot of tag teams. They only have around 3 or 4 teams. So I can't say I'm overly surprised, but it was a fantastic match. They were given a ton of time, like 3 or 4 commercial breaks. The promos beforehand helped build it up, make it feel like a big deal. And this was the Usos' first tag team match since, I think, March of 2020. Because remember, at WrestleMania, it wasn't a tag team match at WrestleMania 36. It was a triple threat ladder match. Not a triple threat tag team ladder match, but it was Jimmy Uso, John Morrison, and Kofi, because Miz got sick or whatever, so they kind of had to pull the partners, and they made it a triple threat match instead, out of like precaution for Miz maybe having COVID or whatever at that point. So, and then Jay got hurt like right afterward, I'm pretty sure, like on the SmackDown right after WrestleMania. Jimmy got hurt at WrestleMania. Jay was in a triple threat match right after Mania, where he also failed to become the SmackDown Tag Team Champions for him and Jimmy. So we haven't seen them in an actual match since they faced, I don't know who it would have been. The New Day, maybe? That might have been the last match they had, which was well over a year ago. So they showed no signs of ring rust here. Obviously, they're brothers. They've been around now for almost well over a decade. I think next month, or actually it might be like in the last couple of days, mark the 11-year anniversary of the Usos in WWE. It might have been on Monday. And don't ask me how I know this, but I know the 2021 calendar is the same as 2010. I remember they arrived, I think, on the Raw right after Over the Limit, which was either this past Monday or the Monday before that. I'm pretty sure it was this past week. And 11 years later, they're still going strong, having great matches, and they picked up the win here. So I thought this was a really good match. Some might argue went a little too long, blah, blah, blah. Personally, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love the Profits. I love the Usos. This was tag team wrestling at its finest, without anything on the line either. This was not, it technically was a number one contenders match, considering what would happen afterward. But it wasn't formally announced as a number one contenders match. It wasn't for a championship. It wasn't like this blood feud. It was a match to reintroduce the Usos that they built out a week in. They built up a week out. And it was just two teams doing what they do best. Having a great match. So this was really good stuff. The Usos, by virtue of their victory, claiming that they deserved a shot at the SmackDown Tag Team Championship, which we would find out soon after this match backstage via Adam Pearce, that they would challenge for the championships on next week's show, regardless of who emerged victorious in the night's main event. So that pretty much gave it away that Ziggler and Roode were not becoming tag team champions again. There was no way we were getting Ziggler and Roode against the Usos. So that kind of gave away the outcome of the main event, which we'll get to a little bit later on. We had another tag team match right after that, pitting Natalya and Tamina against the Riott Squad. I have no idea where the fuck the Riott Squad has been in recent months. I know Ruby, probably with Liv, I don't remember, was on SmackDown a few weeks ago on the Throwback show, losing to Carmella. Other than that, though, we have not seen them at all. I know they were at WrestleMania. They lost, which was stupid. I really think they should have won that match, the Tag Team Turmoil match. Before that, probably February was the last time we saw them as a team on SmackDown. They're really their women's tag team division is non-existent. They have a handful of teams, but Natalya and Tamina have already beaten half of those teams. They've beaten the former champions, Shayna and Nia, twice already. Really 3 times, if you include the first time they won the championship. And now they've beaten the Riott Squad. So it's not like this match would be a barn burner, but I'm thinking ahead here. I would not have just given this away. If it was a makeshift team or 2 local athletes or 2 NXT people that you don't really know too much about, then that's fine. But the Riott Squad, this could be a title program at some point. I guess you could always go back to it. And they had a million matches earlier this year. But to have the Riott Squad lose decisively in a matter of minutes doesn't exactly make them out to be a threat. Doesn't exactly make me clamor to see them, make me want to see them back in the championship picture anytime soon. I thought it was a fine match. Natalya and Tamina are apparently baby faces now, as are the Riott Squad. WWE put up a video after the show went off the air on .com and on YouTube with the Riott Squad kind of upset with their loss, specifically Ruby, who was all pissed and kicking a trash can over the fact they lost again. So maybe they'll turn heel. Not exactly what I would do. I always thought they were miscast in the heel role when they first joined together 3-4 years ago. But it really is sad that this team has been together on and off now for 3 or 4 years, 3.5 years, and they have yet to taste tag team gold. How the fuck does that happen? I mean, with so few teams in this division too, they just keep giving the titles to all these makeshift teams. It makes no sense. But that was a fine match. So we had Bianca Belair versus Carmella right after that. So it was nice to see actually 2 women's matches on the show for once. We may have had that a week or 2 ago, maybe last week. We don't see it often, is my point. And there was a big to-do recently from someone on Twitter saying, the women get no time. They don't get a match that exceeds 10 minutes, which is accurate. If you look at the numbers, that is 100% accurate, and it is absolutely an issue. And they have a lot of talented women on SmackDown, but we haven't seen Sasha Banks since right after WrestleMania, which is smart. I would hold her off the show until, maybe next month or in time for Money in the Bank or SummerSlam, whatever, to kind of build to the Bianca Banks rematch. You have Sasha, or rather you have Bayley, you have Belair. Carmella, I like. Again, this is another case of another match I would have not just given away for free on TV without building it up first. Again, it's not a match I'm clamoring to see. I'm not clamoring to see Carmella back in the championship picture, but they have so few women on this show, specifically women that could realistically make sense to be in the championship picture. Listen, I love Ruby Riott. I think Liv Morgan has gotten better. I don't want to see them in the title picture right now because it makes no sense. Because they haven't really been around as singles competitors or whatever, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Carmella, it could, because she was feuding with Sasha earlier this year. To her credit, did a lot of good work, probably had the best matches of her main roster career with Sasha Banks. And there's been zero follow-up. I thought the thing that she was doing with Billie Kay was entertaining, and then they fucking fired Billie Kay. I mean, listen, I was never the biggest Billie Kay fan, but it's that gives Carmella something to do. They took Reginald away from her. This woman cannot catch a break, and she lost here. And the match was decent. Again, it was a decent match. It wasn't really long enough to be anything out of the ordinary. The only reason this existed was to further the feud between Bianca and Bayley, who was on commentary, tried to distract Bianca, to no avail. Bianca won. So we're clearly getting a Bianca-Bayley rematch at Hell in a Cell, and that's fine. Further the feud, the fluky finish at WrestleMania Backlash kind of allows Bayley to get another opportunity. She'll lose, as she should, before paving the way to Bianca and Sasha at one of the bigger pay-per-views with fans, whether it be Money in the Bank or SummerSlam or whatever. And that makes total sense, and I'm all for that. My issue is just that you need to build up other women beyond Bayley, Banks, and Belair. The 3 Bs. We need more of Carmella being built up. We need more women fucking in general. NXT has so many talented women. Like, for example, they signed Priscilla Kelly a couple months ago. They haven't done jack shit with her. That's how many talented women they have down in NXT. You could absolutely afford to call a woman or two up from NXT and put them on this show. Whether it be an Io Shirai, whether it be a Dakota Kai, whether it be a Taya Valkyrie they just debuted there, they're probably not going to move her up anytime soon, but she easily just could have gone straight to SmackDown, in my opinion. Maybe they would have ruined her, but she could have easily been on the main roster from day one. And there's a lot of women in that division that could be. I mean, what happened the fuck to Mia Yim? Weren't they going to re-debut Mia Yim recently? The thing is that I read all these reports, they were going to debut her on the throwback episode. If she was such a priority to them, they would have already re-debuted her. If it wasn't that week, why wasn't it the next week? Did it absolutely have to be on the throwback episode for some random reason? No, it didn't. This company's handling of women wrestlers is so fucking questionable. Like, they call up people like apparently they call these people up like Santana Garrett and Vanessa Bourne, who when Vanessa Bourne was released recently, they were like, oh yeah, she was on the Raw roster. Since fucking when? Unless I see you on the show, then you're not a call up to me. Could she have been on Raw? Maybe. She probably could have done well in the right role. But they pretend like like Chelsea Green. She was called up for months. She had her match on SmackDown, and then she got injured, and then before she could come back like that week, she was fucking fired. Like, it just makes no sense to me. Clearly, if this company saw these women as a priority, they would not be firing them. Especially when there are a lot fewer women than there are men. Honestly, unless they're absolutely dog shit, you probably shouldn't be letting a lot of these women go. Chelsea Green, Billie Kay, Peyton Royce are all talented women. They're not on the level of maybe a Sasha or even a Bianca or a Bayley or whatever, but they're still talented enough to warrant a spot on this roster. Why would you fire them and then force yourself to give these women the same 3 or 4 opponents on the main roster because you fired everyone else? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Enough of my rant with the women's wrestling with this company. It's just very, like I said, questionable to say the least. We had Seth Rollins out, the birthday boy, who turned God knows what yesterday, but it was his birthday last night. So he was out calling out Cesaro and saying, he's going to come out and interrupt my birthday. Oh, wait, he can't. He's in a hospital bed right now because I took him out last week, and what was a pretty good attack. I thought this was a great promo from Rollins. The only issue with the segment was the dumb hospital noises, which was typical stupid WWE comedy. Otherwise, I thought this was a solid segment. Further the feud. Rollins is such a perfect asshole. Like with him saying, listen, it was all your fault. Like, he said it in like a sincere tone too. And obviously he was just being completely disingenuous, but he was like, oh yeah, it was your fault. If you didn't come out, then I wouldn't have had to hurt you. So like the blame kind of falls on you. I thought that was great from Rollins. He really has perfected the art of being a heel over the last 5, 6, 7 years. And I thought this was a good promo. My only issue with the segment, not with the segment, but like with the feud continuing, is this. If Cesaro beats Rollins, which I think he should, because he has more to gain from beating Rollins, well, that's exactly it. What does he gain? He already beat Rollins at WrestleMania. He already beat Rollins on SmackDown after WrestleMania to earn his Universal Championship opportunity. What would beating him a third time do? Maybe cement him as a single star, which I thought was already the case, because he's beaten Daniel Bryan before as well. He already went for the Universal Championship. It doesn't look like he's getting another opportunity. The thing is, though, is that I read this report from, Meltzer, the Wrestling Observer, or whatever. Oh, yeah, Jimmy Uso, rather, isn't getting the next Universal title shot. Then who the fuck is? If it's not Jimmy Uso and Cesaro is busy with Rollins, unless we're getting another 3-way, which I do not want to see, then who do you have face Roman at the pay-per-view? I think what they're doing with the Usos is so rushed because they are getting to Jimmy, either Jimmy versus Jay at the pay-per-view with Roman as like the referee or the enforcer or some shit, or they're going to do Jimmy versus Roman. And that's fine, but like they need to make it clear what that match is going to be because Roman wasn't really on the show, at least not as much as he normally is. And although Cesaro wants another shot at Roman, it doesn't look like that's the direction we're heading in, at least in going into Hell in a Cell. So, back to my original point though with Cesaro and Rollins. Cesaro beats Rollins a third time. Cool. Where do you go from there after already losing a Universal Championship opportunity? If Rollins wins, is it back to the back of the line for Cesaro? Is he done as a single star? Do you turn Rollins face? Like, it's a weird thing right now because they're doing well with a lot of the people they have on SmackDown, but with Bryan being gone, they haven't called anyone up aside from Rick Boogs, which is cool, but he's not going to be a main event player. They brought back Aleister Black, who wasn't even on the show, but they need to make more people on the show important. Like, Sami Zayn is not a main event player with his current character. Big E isn't quite there yet. They introduced Black to the mid-card. Apollo's in the mid-card. Kevin Owens is in the mid-card. They need more main event players aside from the 4 that we have right now. If you're relying on the Usos to be in the Universal Championship picture, that kind of sort of tells me you have a depth roster issue on your show, at least towards the top of the card, which they need to work on. The SmackDown roster is surprisingly small compared to Raw's. I know Raw is 3 hours, but if you look on Wiki, SmackDown's roster compared to Raw's is like shockingly small. Like, absurdly so. Like, they need more people on that brand. They need to call more people up. Speaking of Owens and Crews, they had a match on the show, which I don't think was for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, I know they're having an Intercontinental Championship match next week. I don't think this was ever supposed to be for the Intercontinental Championship, and the match was like a fucking minute long. Way too rushed, way too short, but like Owens hit a stunner real quick, was about to pin Crews, or he did pin Crews, and then Commander Aziz interfered and hit Owens with the Nigerian nail that Owens sold like a fucking, like he died. Like he had just gotten shot in the throat or something, which was bizarre. The sell was completely ridiculous. I feel like Owens did that on purpose because it was just so stupid. I don't even mind the Nigerian nail finish, just the angle in which he hit it on Owens, because he literally just put his arm in the ring and then put his thumb up to his throat. Like, it wasn't even like he normally does, where he kind of puts the people up in the air like Umaga used to and then hit it that way. Like, it's just so fucking weird. So the sell was stupid, but anyway, I question whether it was for the championship or not, because, and I guess a quick Google search will tell me whether it was or not. I don't think it was. So they did the match, and then they're like, oh, Owens won by disqualification, but because championships can't change hands on DQs, Crews is still the Intercontinental Champion. Like, if it's a non-title match, normally they don't say that shit. So maybe they just did that to build the next week. That's probably what it was. With the Intercontinental Championship being on the line, and Commander Aziz is banned from ringside. So Owens will get another opportunity. Why they're rushing it, I don't know. I don't know why you wouldn't save that for the pay-per-view. They're doing the SmackDown Tag Team title match next week. So it is weird how they're not doing this stuff on pay-per-view. Like, they didn't do the 4-way for the Intercontinental title on pay-per-view either, which was also a little weird. Maybe they just only wanted 6 matches on the Backlash card. They needed to make more time for the Zombies. Who fucking knows? I'm not sure, but it does benefit the Blue brand. I will say that much. SmackDown is a stacked show next week between those 2 title matches, which is cool. I don't expect either championship to change hands, but they both should be very good matches given who's involved. Shinsuke Nakamura out again with Rick Boogs playing his theme to the ring, rather. And it looks like a permanent call-up for Boogs. It doesn't look like it's going to be, a one-night thing as it looked like last week or whatever. No, he's with them from this point forward, which is cool. And I've said before, the fact they weren't doing anything with this guy is mind-boggling to me. Boogs is not like the greatest in-ring wrestler or anything like that, but the guy has charisma for fucking not days, weeks, but months, if not years. Like, this guy's got a lot of charisma, and utilizing him in this role makes sense. Maybe he can eventually wrestle Corbin. Maybe it'll be short-lived. I don't know. We saw Corbin with the fucking Forgotten Sons for 2 weeks, and then that went nowhere. So I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled the plug on Rick one of these weeks, and then he just went right back down to NXT and being the Performance Center, whatever. But for now, it works, and I think it's cool. It works for Nakamura. It's going to feel like a rock star entrance in front of fans in a couple months. Maybe that's why they're doing it. Either way, though, Nakamura beat Chad Gable on the show. Yes, they are still around. Chad Gable noticed and not been on the show in several weeks, if not a month or so. But they resurfaced here. Nakamura beat him in a brief match. These guys really could have killed it with more time, but for what it was decent. So they had a nice little match. Nakamura wins. Corbin attempted to steal the crown back from Nakamura, only for Boogs to steal it from King Corbin. So that feud continues for better or for worse. I mean, I guess it gives Nakamura something to do, but who gives a shit about the King of the Ring crown? That was 2 years ago. Who cares at this point? We get to the main event for the SmackDown Tag Team titles, Rey and Dominic Mysterio against Dolph and Robert Roode. So this was yet another handicap match for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. This was essentially the same formula they fucking did at WrestleMania Backlash, except this time with the roles reversed with Rey and Dominic. So last time, what was it? Dominic was the one that was out here. They attacked Dominic backstage. Rey was in the ring. Dominic came back out, and they wrestled like a full-length match after that, which was weird. You would think, Dominic would come out and they would win like a minute or two later. No, those guys got a ton of time on the pay-per-view. This time it was Dominic that got attacked, or rather Rey that got attacked. So Dominic went at it alone, facing Dolph and Robert for a little while. And it was a perfectly fine main event. Again, you knew the titles weren't changing hands, especially the Usos waiting in the wings for that opportunity next week. But it was a well-wrestled match. Ray's music hits. He comes out. And then literally as soon as he comes out, I forgot who got pinned, but the other one got distracted. They both got distracted. Dominic pins him and it was over. Like, it was just so fucking lazy. Like, at least last time, I'm not even saying they should have even had as long of a match as they did at the Backlash pay-per-view, but at least have him come out, hit a couple moves, or do something. Unless Ray's actually hurt, I'm not really sure why the fuck he would do that. That was just weird. It made Dolph and Robert look like complete losers, which I guess isn't really a priority to them because they're no longer the champions. It was a lazy finish. I thought what they did at the pay-per-view was better than this. This was just, it felt like a rehash with the roles reversed. But the match was fine. So the Usos come out afterward, confront the Mysterios to close out the show. That should be a kick-ass match, and like I said, why the fuck they're doing it a week later after the Usos just reunited tells me they're definitely doing something with the Usos at the pay-per-view. They were teasing tension. Roman had to talk to Jay about Jimmy. They're doing a lot of cool stuff with the Usos right now. I don't think, at least for now, it will result in them becoming tag team champions. And I don't think it should. I think the Usos becoming champions again will be cool at some point. I would not do it fucking next week. I mean, it would be typical of WWE to even just put the belts on them on Father's Day and really ruin Rey and Dominic's, title run or whatever. But no, they're doing it next week. Maybe they'll lose, who knows? But I wouldn't pull the trigger on that so quickly. I would probably wait a little longer to do that. I would have the Usos honestly feud for a little while and then get back on the same page and win the tag team titles together. So that closed out what I thought was a decent episode of SmackDown. Like I said, the opening match was the best part. The lack of follow-up with Aleister Black and Big E was disappointing. Not their strongest effort in recent weeks. Not a terrible show. And mostly everything served a purpose. But just not everything was great. Like I thought the women's tag team match was Bianca and Carmella was meh. Owens and Cruz and Nakamura and Gable were all short-lived. The main event was kind of a rehash. And the Rollins promo was great. That was probably the next best thing on the show next to the opener. But not the greatest SmackDown. It was just kind of there this week, kind of middle of the road addition to the Blue brand. So thank you guys for checking out my review of the show. If you're listening on YouTube, be sure to like the video, drop a thumbs up. Be sure to comment on the video, share the video, and subscribe for more daily content. So what I'm planning on doing is having my Talking Smack review go up tomorrow. I'll be busy tomorrow. I won't have time to watch and review the Broken Skull sessions all that entire day. I might watch it. I don't know if I'll be able to review it like that same day. So that will likely be up on Monday. Talking Smack is up tomorrow. Today I had my interview earlier go up with Elijah Burke, the Pope, the NWA television champion. That is up right now, a half an hour of audio awesomeness, so check that out. And then on Monday is my exclusive interview with the former WWE Women's Tag Team Champion, NXT Women's Champion, Shayna Baszler, for part 2. We talked a couple months ago. She's back on Monday here on the channel to talk all things Monday Night Raw in her match with Reginald, Marvel movies, and a lot of other awesome stuff. So check that out on Monday, in addition to likely my review of the Broken Skull Sessions edition with The Godfather dropping tomorrow. And we got Double or Nothing tomorrow, so there's a lot going on in the wrestling world in the next couple days, which is cool. So, that's about it, guys. Check out all my other SmackDown reviews, audio reviews of the Blue brand down below on this very video. Enjoy the rest of your Memorial Day weekend. If you're outside of the States, have a great weekend in general. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.